has to do with today's lesson is just simplifying fractions. All right. Now, the other thing I want to discuss today is it says here, state the excluded values. All right. It says state the excluded values. All right. Now, what that basically means, if you recall with your fractions, that if I said to you, what is 0 divided by 2, most people would tell me that's just what? 0. All right. Now, how do we know that? Because you remember how you do your division? You say, what times 2 is 0? 0. So 0 times 2 is 0, and so that was the answer, was 0. All right. Now we could come into a situation where if I said what's 2 divided by 0, most people would say what? 0. Yeah, most people say 0 also. All right, but please pay attention. This will help you. All of these types of questions are always in all of your math questions now. All right, in the future. All right, if I ask you that question, 2 divided by 0, the question is, what times 0 is 2?
Oh, wait.
2,
Nothing.
1, 0, 3, nothing is. All right, nothing is. No. All right, so when you're trying to divide by 0, that's why the mathematicians came up with there is no solution to that problem. Because nothing times 0 is what? 2. No matter what number you plug in, you're always going to get what? 0. So we said there is no solution. All right, so when we are talking with expressions, all right, this is simply an expression because there is no equal sign. All right, so it's like a number, 3/4 or 1/2 or 5. All right, we used to just think in terms of numbers. Now we have to think in terms of variables also. So the question here is, this fraction in question number 1 can be anything, or P could be any number except 7. So the excluded value, we would say, is P cannot equal 7. Now somebody tell me why it cannot equal 7. That's exactly correct. The numerator, we don't care what the numerator is because the numerator can be 0. The numerator can be negative. The numerator can be positive. The only thing that matters is the denominator. All right? And what number would make the denominator 0? Obviously what? 7. Now, if you're having trouble seeing that, the mathematical way would be to say P minus 7, which is the denominator, cannot equal what? Cannot equal 0. So you just add 7 to both sides. It really is that simple. All right, it's really that simple. All right, so the excluded values, all right, we also, if you recall, we would talk about the domain here. So please look up and make sure you're hearing me. All right, so the domain is what could P be? All right, P could be anything but what? So we can say P can go from -infinity to 7, and from what? 7 to infinity, actually. Because remember, there's a lot of numbers between 7 and 8. All right? So here is the answer, right here. Here is a review of interval notation. All right, that's a review of interval notation. All right, that is pretty standard now in most math classes. All right. Now I'm going to look at number 3. What numbers would make the denominator 0 here?
2.
Just 2?
2 squared.
So we would say K cannot equal, no, 4 squared minus 4 is not 0. 2 squared is, and what else? And -2. All right, so there are 2 solutions here. You would say K cannot equal plus or minus 2. K cannot equal plus or minus 2. Remember, how many solutions are there? That would be the exponent that tells you that. All right, there are 2 solutions. That's how you're supposed to remember that. All right, So k cannot equal plus or minus 2. All right? Now, just for me, I'm going to write this interval notation one more time. All right? And then you don't have to write the interval notation anymore. It's just a reminder. All right? So we would say all values from negative infinity to negative 2, union negative 2 to 2, union 2 to infinity. All right? That's how most high schools would have you write the answer. And then more traditional way of writing it would be all real numbers, comma, k cannot equal plus or minus 2. All right, that would be the other way you could write that. All right, this right here, this symbol means any number except what? 2 and negative 2. All right, that's what that symbol means. All right. Now let's take a look at number 5. Now this one's a little bit harder because we have to actually factor the denominator. So let's see if you remember this. All right, 2 sets of parentheses. That would be y and y, 6, positive 6, and what?
Positive.
Yes, very good. For those of you guys remember that. All right. And so now you're setting it equal to 0. So this should be mental math. So y cannot equal what? 3 or negative 6. Thank you very much. That's how simple. Yes.
I don't understand how you got 3 and 6.
Well, because the factors of 18 that make 3, remember? Factors of 18. 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. These factors make 3 if 6 is positive and 3 is negative.
So, like that cannot equal, like it's just
Yes, that's exactly right. All right, strictly looking at the denominator. All right, so let's just make sure we're good. Let's go back up to question number 2. So everybody should be able to quickly tell me n what? N cannot equal what? Negative 4. So now everybody should be able to say x cannot equal.
plus or minus.
Yes,
Plus or minus 5.
very good. Plus or minus 5. All right. And now here, all right, we got to factor the denominator. So that becomes,
B plus 5 and B plus 2.
wow, b plus 5 and b plus 2. B cannot equal.
Minus 5 and negative 5.
Very good. Very, very good. It's really simple. All right? Really simple. Yes, sir.
Wait, so like for 4, how'd you get like 5? Did you divide by 15?
Which one?
For 4.
No, I set the denominator equal to 0. It has nothing to do with the numerator.
So you said equal to 0, so.
Yes. So then you factor it into x plus 5
Oh.
and x minus 5.
Oh, okay.
All right? Now, we have a short week, so we're going to learn something today, and tomorrow we're going to have a quiz on Friday. All right, just over these 2 sections. I'm going to break it down into sections. All right, because next week we also have what? 4 days, and the week after that we have what? 4 days also. All right.
Easter.
So yes. All right.
We have Friday.
Okay, now here we go. A little bit harder now. Now we're just reducing fractions. Now we're reducing fractions. All right. Now what I want to show you is that it does say state the excluded values. All right. So that would be actually step number 1. All right. So what I want to show you right now is you should be able to say that B cannot equal 0 and C cannot equal 0. Everybody agree with that? Because if B is 0, the denominator will be what?
0.
If C is 0, the denominator will be what?
0.
0. All right, that's how simple that is. Now we're just reducing the fraction. All right, now we've already done this before, so this shouldn't be a big deal. All right, if we reduce the fraction 21 over 28, that just reduces to what? 3/4. All right. Now, what happens to the b's? They cancel out.
And there's one.
All right. Now, the next part, I want you to remember, if there's one c on top and two c's on the bottom, when you cancel, you will have a c where? A c on the bottom. All right. So, again, very simple. Very simple. Reduce the fraction. That's all you're doing. All right. Now, let's take a look at number 9. All right. So, for number 9, we would automatically say x cannot equal 0 and y cannot equal 0. And then we're going to reduce the fraction. All right. So 16 over 36 reduces to what?
4/6. 2/3. 1 and 2/3.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
It can't be 1/2.
16 isn't half of 32.
Oh,
It's 4 9.
Is it 4 9?
Well, what are we dividing by? 4, right?
2 9.
Oh, wait,
16 divided by 4 today is 4. 36 divided by 4 today is 9. All right, you're just literally reducing the fraction. All right? All right, you're dividing by 4. Now you have how many x's on the top?
3.
How many on the bottom? So that leaves you with 2 on the bottom. That's how I'd like for you to think about it. Okay? Now you have y squared and y cubed, so there would be a y on the bottom. That's not that bad. All right, it's not that bad at all. Shh, shh. James. All right, number 11. Now, we have an issue here. All right. I want to factor the bottom out. 3 is common. And then I'm left with what? N plus 6. Everybody with me on that? So now I know that n cannot equal what? N cannot equal -6. Everybody agree? Well, because you want the denominator to be 0. What has to go into there to make it 0?
Oh.
Yeah, not +6, right? Okay. All right. Now, you must think of this in terms of quantity. All right? So I can reduce the what? The n plus 6 and the n plus 6. Everybody agree with that? And so what am I left with? The fraction 1/3. All right? So what I'm trying to tell you is I cross that out to factor, then I cross out the n plus 6, and the mistake that most kids make is they accidentally put 3 down. All right? Instead of what? 1/3. All right? Be careful. All right?
But how is it not just me? Because there's nothing at all.
Right. Well, you're dividing, and when you divide, you get a 1.
yeah.
When you divide, you get a 1. Okay?
I don't understand why you crossed everything.
Well, first of all, the n plus 3n plus 18 became 3 times n plus 6. Do you understand that?
Yeah. I don't understand why you crossed everything.
Because there's a common n plus 6 and an n plus 6.
Oh.
All right? Here we go. Keep going. Now, the first thing is we say y cannot equal what, guys? -8. Y cannot equal -8. Now, what does y squared minus 64 cancel to? Or not cancel to, but factor to. No, listen, you're not allowed to cross out through addition and subtraction.
Y plus 8, y.
Yeah, you have to remember from last week, y plus 8, y minus 8 over y plus 8. Everybody hearing me? Now, what happens to the two y plus 8s?
Is it canceled?
Now, the y plus 8s cancel, so your final answer is y minus 8. All right, you can put y minus 8 over 1, but it's not necessary. All right? Now, for question 15, you should be able to say z cannot equal plus or minus 1. Everybody good with that? And now you're just factoring the denominator. So it's going to be z plus 1 over what? You're factoring? Do you have any issues with the factoring? And now what can I cross out? Yep. So you cross out the z plus 1s. Now don't make a mistake. Yes. Be careful. 1 over z minus 1. Why what? Yeah, you're dividing. So when I cross out, it's what's on top. You with me? Because we're dividing. All right. It's different in the denominator. If the denominator is 1, it's like 3 divided by 1 is still 3.
Oh.
All right, but 1 divided by 3 is not 3. 1 divided by 3 is the fraction 1/3. All right, so here again, now it's just annoying. There's just more factoring. That's all it is. All right, so the numerator, what's common in the numerator? 2, very good. When you factor to 2, you get what? D plus 5. Now remember, we're getting a little bit deeper. For some of you guys, if you're not willing to ask me a question, it's getting harder and harder. All right, does anybody have any issues with me factoring out a 2? All right, now, what about the denominator? Everybody should be able to just quickly tell me what the answer is. Now, I want to say something. I want everybody to hear me, so listen carefully. I try to remember to use the top to help me factor what? The bottom. Because I know I'm going to be doing what? Reducing here. So if I can keep that in mind, I can cross out the d plus 5 and the d plus 5. Everybody with me? All right. And so now my answer is what? Yes, 2 over d minus 7, but I forgot to write down d cannot equal 7 or negative 5.
Wait, so I understand like everything except for how you get like the d equals
Can't equal. Okay, so what number do I plug into here to make it a 0? That's why that's there.
Oh.
And what number do I plug in here? That's why that's there. All right, so let's do the next one and make sure you're good. All right, so again, the problem here is it's all just factoring. All right, so if you're good at factoring, this is easy. If you're not good at factoring, this is impossible. All right, so the top factors to what? Someone? Yes. Exactly correct. All right, everybody good? Now the denominator. Very good. T plus 4, t plus 2. So what can cross out? Yep, the t plus 2 cancel, and so you're left with. Now remember, you cannot cross out the t's there, all right? Because things bounded by addition and subtraction, you can't cancel, all right? Let me just make a quick review of that. Look over on the, look up please. If I say 2 plus 4 over 4 plus 7, is that the same as 2 over 7? No, it's 6 over 11. That's why you can't reduce. All right, you cannot cancel through addition and subtraction. You can cancel through multiplication and division. All right, that's why everything connected with multiplication and division you can cross out. If it's not connected with multiplication and division, you cannot cancel. All right, so let's take a look at, oh yeah, thank you. So tell me. Yes, thank you very much. All right, so here we go. Let's look at 21, factoring. Please, someone who's not talking, all right, tell me how to factor the numerator. Good. X plus 6, X plus 4. What, Jimmy? That has never stopped you before from talking. Ever. Ever. And you know what? Where it's going to be a hard 9 weeks for you and me, I can tell already. Because you're constant sarcasm I'm not putting up with. Just letting you know that. All right? You and your Mrs. Cavacles will be having a conversation. All right? Trust me. out of the blue. You and I will be sitting in the conference room talking. You worry about you. Good. X minus 6. X plus 4. So again, just cross things out. Should be very easy. So your final answer. And X cannot equal 6 or negative 4.
Where'd you get the 6 and the 4? Is that from the bottom?
Yes, that's from the denominator. You're always looking at the denominator. Drew, you all right?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let's go back up here. Okay, remember, reduce the fraction. 12 over 24, you should be able to see that's just what? 1/2. All right, that's 1/2. Now you just strictly look at the variables. How many on top, how many on the bottom, and how many are left? MR squared. Any issues? And then we would say, 1 second, M cannot equal 0, and R cannot equal 0. It's how many there are. How many do you have on the top? How many on the bottom? So if we cross one out, we'll have one left on the top. Agreed? All right. Now, again, the same principle for question number 10. You just first start with a number, 8/40. That reduces to what? 1/5. All right, and how many A's on the top, how many on the bottom, and how many are left?
1 A on the bottom, 2 B's on the top.
A on the bottom. All right, and then B squared on the top. All right. No big deal. Now, for question number 12, it looks kind of complicated. It looks like you could just cross out everything, but you can't. All right, there's a common 4. So we have to factor out the GCF. So that's 4 times x minus 1. And this is 4 times x plus 1. So what can I cancel out? I cancel out the 4's. And so you're left with x minus 1 over x plus 1. Then x cannot equal just negative 1. 4 is not a variable. It's a number.
When do you do like x can't equal
When it's a square.
Oh.
Right? When it's a square. Like x squared minus 25 or x squared minus 16. All right? 14, factoring the numerator.
It's y minus 9 and y plus 2.
Very good. Now, again, I'm trying to teach you guys something that will help, right? Is that I used y minus 9 in the denominator because I knew I was going to have to cancel it. All right? Hopefully you understand what I'm saying on that. So those cancel. So your final answer is just y plus 2. Now, I really don't want you to put over 1, but it's not wrong. All right? And so then you would say y cannot equal 9. All right? All right, now there's an x plus 6 on the top, so there probably is a what? There's probably an x plus 6 on the bottom. So I automatically put x plus 6 on the bottom. Now I want to show you now that the easiest way to figure it out is I need an x squared, so that has to be x. And I need a negative 24, so positive 6, so it has to be x minus 4. All right, that's just how it works. And so now the x plus 6's will cancel, and so you're left with 1 over x minus 4. X cannot equal negative 6 or 4. All right, pretty straightforward. 18. The numerator has a GCF, which is 3. Factor out of 3. And you're left with, now because there's an h minus 3 on the top, there's probably a there's probably an h minus 3 on the bottom. And then I want it to be negative 7 as a sum and a positive 12 h minus 4. All right? And so now h minus 3's will cancel. So you're left with 3 over h minus 4. That's okay, don't be sorry. All right, let me show you. H cannot equal 3 and h cannot equal 4. So you tell me you're not sure how I got this h minus 3 right here?
Yeah.
Pull out a 3. Right, so there's a common 3 here and here.
Yeah, but when you have to get rid of 3 on the left, then you just keep it.
3 on the left. I factored out a 3. So in other words, 3 parentheses h minus 3. Because remember, 3 times h is 3h, and 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. You with me on that, right?
Yeah.
So everything's good now? All right. All right, 20. All right. So I need the factors of 4 that make 3. Yeah, very good. So it's going to be a positive 4 and a negative 1. So very good with that. Now, you kind of have a choice because the bottom has to factor also. And I can assure you that one of those will be one of the factors, right? So I'm looking at 8, right? Which is probably 4 and 2. Does everybody agree? So I bet you it's what? A plus 4, right? Because that way that'll cancel. And then what? I'm really wanting you to listen to what I'm telling you because that's a huge part of making it easy. Is once you factor one, look for those factors in the other one. Is everybody hearing me on that? All right. So now the a plus 4's do what? Cancel. All right. Last one. All right. So we're factoring the top.
B minus 3.
Exactly.
The bottom is B minus 6.
Very good. And so now B minus 3's will cancel. And then we say comma B cannot equal 6 or what? 6 or 3. Yes, good, Hayes.
Yeah, I understand the bottom. I understand the B minus 3. B minus 3.
Okay, so let's go slow here now. So I just put 2 sets of parentheses, agreed?
Yep.
B times B makes this B squared, right?
Okay.
And then 3 times 3 makes 9, right?
Okay.
But I want it to be negative 6 added together, right? And remember, smiley face, that's how you can quickly visualize if you're correct or not. All right. I mean, now, guys, if you can factor this stuff is what? Easy. If you're not good at factoring, this is a nightmare. That's what I was trying to tell you for the last month. Factoring is a huge part of math. You got to know how to factor. All right? So your job now, you have 18 questions for homework. All right, I'm going to check it in the morning, guys. We're going to have a quiz on Friday on 2 sections. All right, on 2 sections. Today was reducing fractions. Tomorrow's multiplying and dividing. Very simple if you can factor. All right, very simple if you can factor. So go ahead and get started on that real quick. All right, get as much as you can done. We still have like what, 10 minutes or something? Yeah, 10 minutes. You got a lot of time. And then, by the way, don't forget tonight, if for those of you guys who are just not 100%, the explanations for this will be in my other class. If you're, for whatever reason, you're struggling, all right, go ahead and listen to the video, all right? Double check yourself, all right? Very important.